Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I'm Jared Fearing. I'm a lifelong Godzilla fan and a big fan of Halloween. And nothing says Halloween like monster movies. So this year, for the month of October, we're going to review every single Godzilla movie from Gojira all the way to Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. So join me this month for a new video every single day and see if I go insane in the process. Let's get to it. What's up, everybody? For the first movie, we're going to go over Gojira and its American counterpart, Godzilla. Gojira coming out in 1954, and the American counterpart coming out in 1956. This is one of the only reviews where we're going to go over both the American version and the Japanese version, because they're both different and they bring different things to the table. As a series of films goes further along, the differences become less and less, and usually more just in translation of words, as opposed to being a completely different film. The American Godzilla in 1956 actually had a ton of new footage shot for it. They introduced American actor Raymond Burr, and he played a reporter that got stranded in Tokyo and happens to be there witnessing Godzilla's attack. It's an interesting way of not just erasing the Japanese movie, but adding an outside perspective to viewing the events. The Japanese film is almost working in tandem with it. They don't completely erase a lot of the things that come from it. With the exception of Dr. Serizawa, he's a lot more nuanced and filled out in the Japanese version, and in the American version, he's kind of boiled down to just a mad scientist until the end. He's withholding information about this new weapon he's working on because he knows how destructive nuclear weapons are, and he knows that the countries of the world are going to abuse his weapon for their own gain if it gets out. So there's a lot more nuance and argument about the morality of creating new scientific feats that can be used as weapons. Gojira is one of the few films in the series that actually uses puppetry to depict Godzilla in some of the scenes. In the future, it's almost exclusively a guy in a suit, which comes to be called lovingly Suitmation. During the creation of Gojira, it was highly influenced by American films King Kong from 1933 and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and they used a lot of claymation by Ray Harryhausen in Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and other movies like that around that time. But they wanted to do something differently, and Gojira actually used A.G. Tsuburaya for the effects. Tsuburaya went on eventually to have his own incredibly successful small screen company that created such things like Ultraman, which I actually have an amazing tattoo of on my leg. In the development of Gojira, they didn't know what they wanted to make exactly, except that they wanted to have a giant monster. And so the working title of the screenplay was actually just G for giant. The story goes that there was an overweight production associate that the people were calling Gojira. The reason being that gorilla is pronounced Gorira and whale is Kujira. And so they combined the two for Gojira, or gorilla whale, and the story goes that it was named after this overweight executive. The original Japanese one has a lot more emphasis on Godzilla being a creature of legend and folklore, especially in the Oda Island scenes. And I think that adds a lot to it. It's a Japanese trope that folklore turns out to be true and have some kind of a lesson. And in the American one, they kind of wash over that in favor of it just being a standard big monster movie. The anti-war narrative in Gojira is extremely strong and tactfully done. You have to remember that it came out in 1954, and that's only a decade removed from the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So think of how these scenes would have played out on a Japanese screen and how it would have affected the Japanese people. If you're starting your Godzilla journey, Gojira is the perfect place to start. I highly recommend it, especially if you don't mind the subtitles in Japanese language. If you feel the need to start with the American version, I still recommend it, but just be aware that it is a lesser movie of the two. Come back tomorrow and we'll be reviewing Godzilla Raids Again, the sequel to Gojira. And as always, remember to like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of Gojira in the comments down below.